Welcome to The Hedge, where we hold court and discuss all the latest basketball news. We have a treat for you all this week. Please welcome in comedian Georgea Brooks. George, how are you?
I'm great. Steve, thank you for having me.
Of course. I was really excited to do this, especially this week with the Toronto Raptors being in the news so much. So we're talking north of the border hoops on this segment of The Hedge. Your Raptors, not the greatest season they're having right now. They're out of the playoffs, in the wrong country, and have really struggled since the All-Star break. What is going on here?
Well, I just want to start out by saying we're not officially out of the playoffs. Okay. Very rude. There's still a shot, especially since we kept Kyle. I think we'll be fighting for at least that play-in spot. But what is going wrong? I feel like all the reasons that things are going wrong make it's almost like I'm not that mad that the season's going bad because, for one, as you said, we're in a different country. Yeah. And it's America. Who wants to be there? I live there. But also, the Toronto Raptors don't have a center. So you try and win. You try and be above 500 without essentially a goalie on your team. And then on top of that, we really don't have a strong bench. So it's we've got a really good core, small ball lineup starters, but they can't play a whole game because our bench comes in and then we're big minus. I think our bench scores 6 points a game.
That's bad. That is not what you want to hear if you're an NBA team. But you bring up the center position. I'm always screaming that it's the least important position on an NBA court, but you still need one. You still definitely need to have one.
During the off season when we didn't get Serge and stuff, and people were like, the Raptors are going to suck. I'm like, it's a center. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? I'm always if you don't have one of the best guys, the Anthony Davises, the Jokics, Towns of the world, Embiid, it doesn't matter. You take some guy on the mid-level exception for $9 million a year, and that's what the Raptors kind of did, and it just hasn't worked out this year.
Yeah, I don't think they necessarily made I get why they made the decisions they did. If you think you have a shot at Giannis, you take it. Yeah. Obviously, that didn't pan out for us, so we're kind of fucked. Also, though, Aaron Baines, I think he's the nicest dude, but he wasn't supposed to be this bad. He's a -9, -10 guy. He comes on and he's just plus or minus negatives. He goes in for a layup and misses all the time.
That is
it's rough.
Yeah.
It's so rough. And also our rebounding, offensive and defensive, is non-existent. It's really how we lose games.
I'm a big Knick fan, and unfortunately we played the game of let's wait for free agent X to show up 2 years from now. And so let's dump all our players and hope, Kevin Durant's coming or Kyrie or LeBron or all these guys for so many years. So I definitely feel your pain about we're waiting for Giannis and clearing cap space. So it just didn't work out and you have to move on from there. But how much you think playing in Tampa is a reason for the struggles this year?
I think it's huge. I really do, because the Raptors moved to Tampa 2 weeks notice. And then they had to find places, apartments. Then also I know there weren't any fans in the beginning, regardless of where you were playing, but slowly they did let some fans into Tampa, and they are all cheering for the other team that's playing.
Tough.
It's tough. I remember when the Celtics came through and they were chanting taco, the fans just wanted Taco Fall to come in. I guess he went to college maybe in Florida. I don't know what it was, but
he did go to college in Florida. But that is crazy.
It's been rough. And then I don't know if Tampa has anything to do with this, but we got COVID at the worst possible time. And it wasn't even some teams get COVID and it totally takes them out of the game. But all of our best players got COVID. As I told you, our bench scored 6 points. All of our coaches got COVID. And it was just when we finally came out of that 8-game beginning losing streak and we had our shit together, we got COVID. And it was and then you come back after COVID and you're not great either. So I guess I can't blame Tampa for that, but hey, you get it where you live in. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it. And, this past week there's been Kyle Lowry was in these trade rumors. You have the final post-game interview where he's a little emotional. He's, he's talking to Drake, and now he's still a Raptor. So what is the sense? Is there a sense of relief that he's still here? Did you want to see him go somewhere else?
I didn't want him. I don't think any Raptors fan wanted to see him go. I think a lot of Raptors fans weren't going to be angry. You know, they kind of like understood what was going on, but I was crying like all day and then he didn't get traded. Yeah. And then I was like so mad. I didn't want to get traded, but I was like, I spent no time mourning for Norm.
He was the one who got traded. Yeah.
Yeah. And I knew he was going to, but like, it's just like, if Kyle's going and it's Kyle's last game, it's such a heartbreaker, especially that it's not in Toronto. Like if he had not gotten traded like he did and his first game back had been in Toronto, do you know what I mean? Like everyone thinks he's going to get traded and then he's actually plays. He would have got a standing ovation.
That would have been a great moment.
Yeah. I would have been really upset. I mean, I know he's probably going to go. He might not like retire a Raptor, but it makes me really frustrated too that other teams just like don't understand the value of Kyle.
I think they understand the value. It's just the way like with the cap, it's like you got to find $30 million to send back to Toronto, and they all have to be players you don't want, right? They have to be players that you don't want. So like if you're Philly, you're sending back, you know, Danny Green and all these guys, and like they also have to be guys that Toronto says we're gonna get rid of our franchise icon to get.
Yeah.
So if you're like,
yeah, you got it, but you can't. They can't just be guys you don't want. Like sometimes you have to give up guys you like.
You have to give up guys you don't want and guys you do want. So it just makes it such a difficult trade that only a few can make. And if you're Toronto, why would you give him up without getting a haul back?
Yeah, I'm not. Like some people are like, oh, the front office really fucked up. I don't think so. Because like you don't just give them up for shit or for pieces. Also, like if Kyle wants to leave in the off season, like they'll probably do a sign and trade because of the bird rights associated with him. Like, as you said, he's going to ask for a big contract and you're not going to have room on your roster unless you have bird rights. So the only way to get him.
That is a perfect point because he's a guy who can, you can still get something back for him. This is not the end.
Yes.
So even if he can either sign, a 2 or 3 year deal in Toronto, or he says, hey, I want to go home to Philly, you can go get, probably the same package you could have got right now. So I like it for them to stand pat here. I kind of hope he stays long term and he can get that one final game in Toronto. We'll have to wait and see on that though.
He did say, like, no matter what, I'm retiring a Raptor. I'll sign a one-day contract, which I kind of was like, I love that you think that you can just make that choice. Yeah. But he maybe can. He's like, him in the front office, I think they're pretty thick as thieves. And they're really trying to respect Kyle. They kind of did DeMar dirty. So
yeah,
they don't want to get that reputation.
I wouldn't be surprised if they brought DeMar back this summer. Like, I know that's crazy, but, like, he's a free agent. He's probably not going back to San Antonio. I don't think he's going to have a big market, and he can still play. So that makes a lot of sense to me.
I think he would fit too, but I don't know if DeMar would do. Like, I think he would. He's a little too sour.
Okay.
Like, he loves our guys. He loves our team, but like the front office really. I mean, listen, I'm glad they did it as a Raptors fan. I think they made the right move, but it's a rough one because DeMar, like, we love him.
Right. So from Canadian basketball itself, I always think of Canada as a hockey country. Most of America does. My family has a place in Ontario I go visit every summer, so I kind of feel like I'm part Canadian slightly.
Sure.
I don't know if that's condescending at all, but that's how I feel. So for me personally, this Raptors run has been pretty cool. It's cool to see Canada have a renewed interest in basketball. How much would you say this Raptors run the last few years, has created that interest in Canadian basketball?
It has a huge effect, like the We the North era, which is really when Kyle and DeMar came through, I think like 2012, has really helped invigorate basketball in Canada. Because if you think about Canada, it is actually so multicultural, and hockey is huge, but hockey really has a problem with, it's really come out lately, like the racism in hockey is pretty rough. And also the multiculturalism in Canada is not like America where y'all like are like, this is a melting pot, which has a beauty in itself. But Canada always claims it's a mosaic in that, like, you can move here and keep your culture. And so, like, I feel like basketball, like, is more open to other cultures than hockey is, especially if you're coming from a place that's not, like, what if you immigrated from somewhere that's not cool? You've never been on a fucking ice. Like, hockey's a big to do. So also like 7.7 million Canadians in Canada watch the championship run. Wow. There's only like 37 million people in Canada. And that's not it's not counting expats. Like that's just who watched it on Canadian network. So like I lived here, I watched it in a bar in America. Right. And Canada basketball, like our national program, is really strong right now. It's been building for about 10 years, and MLSE, who owns the Raptors and who owns the Leafs, they are really involved with Canada basketball. Nick Nurse is the head coach of Canada's national men's team. Canada national women's team is top 4 in the world. Canada basketball, just like, they're really active, and they just made a deal. They're making tons of deals. But one of the deals they made was with Sportsnet, which is a Canadian network, to actually like play more Canada national basketball so that viewers have access to actually watch Canadian basketball. And they've got like I think like an under 22 tournament coming up because FIBA ends at 19. So just to like showcase Canadian players to the WNBA and the NBA in colleges. And it's a really strong, like basketball is really strong in Canada. And I wouldn't be surprised if it started outshining hockey. I mean, we created basketball as a Canadian who came up with basketball.
That is awesome. I really hope that continues to grow. And I really believe that it can continue to grow, especially with the, Toronto emergence here, and who knows, maybe they get a second team within the next couple of years. Expansion's always a topic of conversation.
Yeah, it's a bummer that Vancouver didn't work out back in the day. I don't really know. I would guess I was too young to really understand why that fell through, but I used to watch the Grizzlies.
Yeah. All right, before we wrap up the show, George, I want your best story on when Toronto fans won the title. What was the environment like?
Well, first of all, I have two. Okay. Not really. I have one story, but I just want to say, so I've lived in LA for 10 years now. So I think I moved here in 2012. So most of the run of We the North era, I've been here. But every time I've gone to a bar to watch playoff games where the Raptors, there's like some Canadian bars in LA. So you go to them.
That's awesome.
Every single time I've gone to a bar to watch the Raptors play, I've run into somebody on Degrassi. Every single time. I swear to God.
Funny.
It's crazy. Like every time I've gone to a Raptors game in a bar. So the environment like was crazy. The parade and everything was crazy. But for me, I'll just tell like.
Did you go to the parade?
No, because I was here. Right. I also was like in between visas. I couldn't travel. But I had a comedy show the night like of Game 6, and I was like, this could really be it. So before the comedy show, I went to a bar and I like had a drink, obviously. And then this guy beside me started talking to me, and I was like, I'm really just focused on the game. I'm like all alone. And then he offers to buy me a drink, and I'm like, well, sure, we can talk. So we're talking, and then the Raptors are losing, and I'm like, last time they won, I had a shot. So I had a shot, and then they kept losing, and then I had another shot. And I just got so plastered that I ended up letting this stranger who I don't know drive me home in my own car to my house. He turned out to be very nice, but that could have been a real murder situation. Long story short, that was the last time I drank, and now I'm sober, and I've been sober ever since because it was just such a nightmare. I walked into the comedy club, said hello, threw up in the bathroom, and then just walked out and told nobody and didn't perform at all.
That is some story right there. I mean, I can't imagine too many Californian people letting somebody drive them home. Canadians are so nice.
I mean, his name was Chad. I walked into my house and I said to my husband, I was like, you got to meet Chad. And he's like, who the fuck is Chad? I can't. Chad turned out to be nice, but Chad could have been a real murderer.
Well, let's leave it at that. George, thank you so much for coming on The Hedge. Is there anything we can plug for you before we wrap up the show?
Yeah, you guys can follow me anywhere at Georgea Brooks. Every Monday on my Instagram and my Twitter, I post an NBA best bets video. So I'll tell you my picks for that day, like what game I'm going to be watching, who I'm picking, and
that is awesome. We will be sure to check that out.
It's been a wild season, so yeah. my picks have been a little all over the place, but they're fun.
That is great. That is going to do it for us here on The Hedge. Special thanks to George Brooks, and remember to follow the Game Day on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and we will see you next week.